A new show takes a look at one of Hollywood's earliest sex tape scandals.
To everlasting love.
Hulu's 8-part series Pam and Tommy explores the notorious scandal that swept up TV star Pamela Anderson of Baywatch fame and heavy metal rocker Tommy Lee, a newly married couple at the time. But the cast says the show is more than just a romp through 90s nostalgia, and critics say the story transcends its trashy beginnings. Sebastian Stan portrays Lee.
It's a unique connection that happened and transpired between super famous Baywatch star Pamela Anderson and Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee at arguably maybe two of the, at a time in their life where they were both at their very peak.
Taylor Schilling plays the estranged wife of the man who stole the sex tape. Schilling says the story is an indictment of the audience that lapped up the scandal.
It's really like an ode to her bravery and her courage in the face of so much misogyny. We collectively weaponized our judgment against her. We collectively continued to contribute to this crime. I mean, she was a victim of a serious crime.
Anderson and Lee, who were married from 1995 to 98, had no involvement in the series. Lily James, known for her role in Downton Abbey and the film version of Cinderella, is cast as Pamela Anderson.
Of course, I would love to have worked with her on this, but in the end, I just had to entirely work my hardest to lean into all the research and to explore as much as I could to try and play her as authentically as possible. That was my job.
The show premiered February 2nd on Hulu in the United States and Disney Plus in Britain.
You know, we were in sort of a very much a passive deterrence mode. Most of our governments were saying, if, then, if he invades, then, et cetera, et cetera. What we have seen now, after two pronunciations by the United States and 3 other countries sending ships and aircraft and other things, we are having now a movement towards that front area. And I think this is having an impact, because remember, this is what Mr. Putin is trying to stop, is a movement into the front area. And I think what he's beginning to see is that his actions are causing the very thing he wants to stop. What I think we need to be asking ourselves is NATO prepared to answer to a superpowers land force attacking to change the internationally recognized borders of another nation? Because if they are, then we need to be prepared for what's next. If we allow bad behavior to stand, if we reward bad behavior by giving the asks, then what we can expect is more bad behavior. And so I think the more essential security question is, are we prepared now to do the things that need to be done so that we're not here again in 2 or 3 years when there are more asks?
Shares of Facebook and Instagram owner Meta Platforms plunged 20% after the bell Wednesday as the company missed on Wall Street earnings estimates and posted a weaker forecast. Meta forecast current quarter revenue in the range of $27 billion to $29 billion, below analyst expectations, as Apple's privacy features keep businesses from opting to advertise on social media sites. Meta's total revenue, the bulk of which comes from ad sales, rose to $33.67 billion in the fourth quarter. That beat analyst estimates. But net losses from Meta's Reality Labs, the company's augmented and virtual reality business, grew to $10.2 billion for the full year, up from $6.6 billion the previous year. It was the first time the company had broken out this segment in its earnings. Tech stocks fell broadly after the Meta announcement, with Google parent Alphabet down 1.3%. Twitter and Pinterest were both down 10%, and Snap down 20%.
The FBI on Wednesday said it had not detected any explosive devices after several historically black colleges and universities across the U.S. reported receiving bomb threats earlier this week, forcing many to cancel classes or put their campuses on lockdown. The threats in cities from Baltimore to New Orleans coincided with the first day of Black History Month and come as racial tensions remain high over key issues like voting rights and police killings of Black Americans. Lopez Matthews Jr. is a librarian at Howard University in Washington, D.C., which was among those that received threats.
Whenever African Americans begin to kind of push for rights, push for recognition, our institutions have then been targeted by those who seek to silence those voices. So they attack our neighborhoods, they attack our schools, they attack our churches.
Edward Waters University in Florida, Morgan State University in Maryland, Spelman College in Georgia, and Xavier University in Louisiana also received bomb threats. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki earlier this week pledged that the administration was taking the threats incredibly seriously.
I will say that these are certainly disturbing, and the White House is in touch with the interagency partners, including federal law enforcement leadership on this.
The U.S. intelligence community warned months ago that racially motivated violent extremists, such as white supremacists, would potentially seek to carry out mass casualty attacks on civilians. Some of these schools have been targeted before. Howard University came under threat from racist attackers in 1919 and again in the 1960s during the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. Lopez Matthews hopes that history helps give many on campus a much-needed resiliency.
You have to continue to go on about your day, move on about your life, but just kind of move with a heightened sense of urgency, a heightened sense of let me be aware of my surroundings just to kind of protect yourself and the school.
The FBI said its joint terrorism task forces are leading an ongoing investigation and that the threats are being investigated as racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism and hate crimes.